I'm gonna be on my Dr. T. Hassan Johnson shit today. Um, the intellectual dishonesty in having these conversations from the black male perspective, um, in the black community is just absolute trash. And I know why, because ultimately it would be, profoundly embarrassing for a lot of black women, in the black community, especially the divestors, because they're the ones, that are talking the most shit. This video is mainly focused and targeted at them, the divestors, the swirlers, the hypergamous camp, all that shit. So I was sent a link to Themis and Thoughts. I don't know how you say it. It's Thoths, right? So Themis and Thoughts. And I watched one of his videos and I watched another video, one where he was addressing lames, the accusation that black women prefer thugs over nerds and lames, and that his belief that all of that is a farce, that these guys had women that desired them, they just didn't pay them any mind. I think overall we can say that that people want, the desirable people, and there's a number of people that don't know where they fall on the totem pole. But that doesn't address the core issue in the black community, which ironically rolls right into, this brother Themis, I think that's how you say his name, his own personal identity. He's been accused of being gay. He's been accused of being feminine. And don't get me wrong, if you, by African American standards, you would think that he was gay, and you would think that he has, very feminine mannerisms, right? But he's non-ADOS, so he's not African American. I don't know what country of origin he comes from. Sounds like he kind of has a British accent. He might be Afro-Caribbean. I don't know. But anyway, he addressed that and he owned it. He doesn't care. And, it's always kind of funny to me when black women go out here. I know there's this whole, they want to form Voltron with the LGBT community. And that's one thing, them forming Voltron with the LGBT community, because the idea is smash the patriarchy, because, patriarchy doesn't allow gay people to be valued. And patriarchy is something that feminists don't like because they don't want to, get with a man's program and subscribe to male leadership and all that other stuff. So they both have a commonality of interest, which is smash the patriarchy. Now, with Themis saying that he, regardless of what people think of him being feminine, he hasn't acknowledged being gay. And I don't know if he's gay. I would suspect that he's gay, but let's go with the idea that he's not. He represents one of the primary type of black men that black women can't stand based on his mannerisms. It's one of the reasons why, when we had the discussion about Michelle Obama bigging up, what's the Zaya, what's the boy's name, the Dwayne Wade's son, and talking about live your own truth and all that. And the feedback that I got was that when black women identify that a black man is, too sweet, they're just like, you might as well encourage him to be gay and let him be gay because he's already too far gone. There's nothing about him that's masculine that any woman would desire. And so with Themis, he represents the epitome of the type of black man. If he's not gay, the epitome of the type of black man that black women are not interested in. By and large, we're talking pound for pound. I don't want to hear about, the exceptions and the black women out here that like a artsy fartsy, black guy. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the general, population, the general standards. And most black women are not into, feminine black men. So I find it funny. I understand when the LGBT people jump up and they defend black women, and then black women, co-sign them back. But I always find it interesting if you have a man that is straight, but he has feminine feminine idiosyncrasies, and the women are, supportive, but they're only supportive in what he says. They're not supportive in what he represents. And I don't know if he recognizes that or that just goes completely over his head, but it seems like there's not a whole bunch of acknowledgement of that or recognizing that. I'm like, these women ain't gonna, like they're not into that. But anyway, um, in typical fashion, he came with all these canned ideas of the plight of the black woman, and he tries to speak on these issues from the perspective of a heterosexual black man, which again, I'm not really getting that type of energy. You know what I mean? So to me, it's kind of disingenuous to sit there and act like he speaks for black men when most black men are not. He's not a reflection of most black men. You know what I mean? Not even on the most basic average level. So when he's like, and I'm a black man, he likes to do that a lot in his video. Well, I'm a black man and I think this and da 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 da. And I'm like, bro, you don't represent the masses. But anyway, I'm gonna skip to the end of his video because and I'm gonna bring it back because I had the same issue that I had with Chloe, and I put it on my community tab and wrote a comment about it. And so at the end of the video, he basically said that, black men haven't built anything that makes black women feel comfortable enough to submit, even though he doesn't even like the word submission, doesn't feel comfortable enough to submit. And so that's why, all these problems persist and black women got to be strong and masculine and, everything else that brothers don't like about them. And I said to myself, and I actually wrote a comment, but my comment didn't go through. And I'm like, and that's why dudes are hopping the fence. You see, because the whole, you would think, right? You would think like, okay, well, why don't brothers just, put some shit together and then all of a sudden these women will recognize the awesomeness of what black men put together and they'll fall in line. No, they're not going to fall in line because they don't fundamentally believe in the concept of patriarchy. So there is no criteria that black men can meet as a benchmark. Don't get me wrong. The community would be better off if, certain things were in place and brothers were working together and all that. But there is no benchmark or criteria that these black men can meet that is going to satisfy women in the divestment camp or the feminist camp, the for Harriet camp, or even the hypergamous camp. Even the hypergamous camp, which is probably the closest thing to, women who could actually, function, in a patriarchy. The problem with them is, they only want these men for their resources, nothing else. And as Captain Solo has pointed out numerous times, black women are in a very unique situation compared to other women where they don't have to rely on a man, nor do they want to rely on a man for resources for their survival. I was just watching some video of Country Wayne, and he's got 5 baby mamas. He makes $4 million a year, and he's like, oh, I pay for all my baby mamas, and I don't care, I don't care, what they do, right? Basically, right? I don't care if they have boyfriends and all that other stuff. And what is it? The Pink Book. I keep saying Pink Handbook, but Pink Book, she did a video on it and she covered it because I didn't even know he had 5 children. He had 3 children when he was 19. So he had all these kids when he was dusty. And I'm going to get back to that in a second. He had all these kids. He had 3 kids by the time he was 19. Right. And I think by the time he was 24, he had 5. He might have more than 5 kids. I wasn't super focused on every detail of the video, but I know he's got a lot of kids and he's got a lot of baby mamas. Right. Everybody knows who Country Wayne is. He's the guy that's, he talks real country. He's a comedian on YouTube. He had the video where he was talking about making $300,000 a month. Right. I don't know if it was he was recently on the Breakfast Club. So that is the ideal situation. Just like the welfare state. The ideal situation is to not have to negotiate with a man for resources. The government is not in a black woman's day-to-day life. That's the beauty of being on, the federal government's dollar and not having a man in the house, because you don't have to negotiate with a man for your resources and what you want to do. And a situation like Country Wayne is the ideal situation, or any of these other rappers and entertainers that if they can get the bag and not have to deal with the man, these women absolutely love that situation. So this is why the whole notion of, oh, well, if you fix it, if you build it, they will come, is bullshit. It's similar to when I called out what's his name, that white supremacist, the racist guy. Oh, what's his name? I'm losing my the guy that always says white people. I always make fun of him. Damn, I can't think of what his name is right now off the top of my head. Hold on one second. Jared Taylor. I don't know why it took a minute for that to come to me. But yeah, Jared Taylor, white people, right? And what did I call out? What did I call out about Jared Taylor when he had some interview he was doing with somebody? And he was basically talking about, they were, all that stuff about equity versus equality, and black white people having higher IQs than black people, and it should be a meritocracy. It shouldn't be about, may the best man or woman win, and it just so happens, haha, us white people, we're at the top, right? But then he said, right, so he's pushing all this meritocracy argument that, it's, black people, they just so happen to have low IQs, and white people, our IQs are higher, and that's just what it is. And therefore, we should maintain the position that we currently have relative to black people. But then he fucked up, in my opinion, where he said, well, I mean, who wants to give up power? And I'm like, gotcha, bitch. See, it came out of his mouth, once it was stated that the goal is to maintain power, then you can miss me with the meritocracy talk. You can miss me with that shit, because it ain't about it being a meritocracy, because you're going to do whatever it is that you can do in order to maintain power. You're not just going to allow yourself to fall from number one, to number two, and sit there and be like, oh, well, black guy, you beat me fair and square. I guess I will, go and sit in the vice president chair. Like, no, they're going to do everything in their power, cheat, steal, rob Peter and Paul, all that stuff in order to maintain a position of power. So the meritocracy argument is bullshit. And the whole problem with, these women that come up with the, y'all black men need to build, and then all of a sudden, we would fall in line. No, it's bullshit, because these women don't fundamentally believe in patriarchy, nor do they want it. Again, it's one of the main reasons, sisters can talk about swirling it up and hopping the fence all they want. It's one of the main reasons why these sisters don't want to go over the fence, because it's real patriarchy when they go over the fence. The type of bullshit they try to pull in the black community, they will not be able to pull with other races. And again, the constant, the issues with submission, the issues with patriarchy, like it's a damn dirty word. That tells me this whole idea of, oh, if you fix it, on top of going back to the very point, that I was making about Country Wayne and all his baby mamas. And there's plenty of other rappers and everything else, in that situation, right? Because the issue that these women have is one with patriarchy. Now, like I said, you have women that are like, black men, you need to run a waste war. I can only be with the male that is the alpha male of the whole entire planet, which would be the white male. That's how they view it, right? But then you got like the lower levels of that, the hood levels of that, which is, well, I'd rather be with a street dude with money. I'd rather be with have a situation like what Country Wayne has going on, or what you saw with Future and all his baby mamas, or what you see with Simone, what's the name? No, I was gonna say Simone Sanders, not Simone Sanders. What you see with Angela Simmons, you know what I'm saying? Who else? Who else out there? Like, even Nicki Minaj. Like, none of these women are victims. As somebody wrote so eloquently in my comments section, these women make conscious decisions. What do you do when you have a situation where you have women out here who are making decisions like that? Hey, I'd rather be, chick number 9, when it comes to some street dude that has resources so I can do my own thing than to actually be in a, traditionally oriented, stable, loving marriage or whatever, right? I don't have to put all that extra sauce on it. We can just say, a guy that has a decent job can provide, a lifestyle and be with him. But it's a situation where the woman would have to negotiate with him for resources. And you see this a lot of times when you see these women, they go out there and they have these babies by these street dudes. And then the street dude doesn't, he's not on the country Wayne tip. The country Wayne tip is the ideal situation. You know what I mean? I don't got to be with him. I can go out here. I can sleep with other men and everything else. And he just provides me resources because I had his baby. That's what they want the setup to be. But when it's not like that, that's when you see all the foolishness on Instagram and, oh, this nigga, he ain't paid for his child in months and da 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 da. And he a millionaire and this, that, and the third. And you could go out, you could do this with your homies, but you can't do it. Because what they want is they want the resources. That's why I don't feel bad for any of those women. I'm like, chick, you knew who you were messing with. And that's the whole problem with this whole situation. It would be one thing if black women were like, y'all need to fix the community, but okay, we're gonna stop messing with these guys that are detrimental to the community. That's not what you see. What you see is these women claiming that, well, the community is broken, so I had to go out here and get with a Pookie. I had to go out here and have a baby by a Dusty. And then on top of that, you have the whole situation where, these women, like I talked about, the women will say, oh, protect black women, shit like that. And yet they do the what Captain Solo and I like to call the armistice, the disarming of the black boys and the black males, right? Because women have these stupid ass ideas. They want to do all this, start fucking with the dials, do all this experimenting with the boys, try to create these sort of Franken niggas that basically a black boy that demonstrates responsibility but not leadership. And I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that. And so what they do is, males, they're violent, or males are, I can't have them, overpowering me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disarm this boy so that I can control him, especially as a single mother, so I can control him. How do we know this? This is one of the primary things that happened with Captain Solo when he was younger. Now, if y'all don't know the story, Captain Solo, I forget what grade it was. He actually, he shared with me the whole story, even showed me the top down view in Detroit of the yards in which he ran through when this whole fight popped off. Anyway, basically, Cap was in whatever such and such a grade in elementary school or middle school. I think it was middle school. Okay. The kids cheated. There was like a group of kids. They were bullies, and they basically cheated off of Captain Solo's tests. They made him like cheat off they were cheating off him while he was taking a test, right? So they all got A's, and that shit didn't sit well with Cap at all. Now, some people say he snitched and all this shit. Cap was like, man, fuck that. Talk about ain't nobody going to eat off of me. He was like, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? So he basically he said, yo, these motherfuckers cheat on me. I got an A. I put it in the work. And these dudes just going to come over and just vulture off of me. He was like, fuck that. So he told they all got F's. But you know what was going to happen after that, right? You know what I mean? Cap had to catch them hands, right? So he knew the whole day. He knew. Soon as the bell rang, Cap is out. He's doing the 100-yard dash and shit like that. Anyway, he thought he had made it home, or almost made it home. And I guess they went a different route, and he ended up coming upon them right when he, had thought that everything was cool. Well, they caught up with him, and I forget exactly how the story went, but basically he got in a fight and he got his ass beat. Cap's father found out about it. Cap was like, nah, fuck that. I'm putting him in karate school. Guess who didn't want him to take karate? That's right, Captain Solo's mother. Now, I remind you, what was the whole situation with Captain Solo's mother? Captain Solo's mother, She had the three different dark skinned dudes that she married, over time, right? These self-hating black men, right? Because she was using her light skin privilege or whatever. And so she went and got these guys. Remember, second husband, he was so insecure that he shot her 5 times with a 38 revolver, and she survived. But anyway, I'm just highlighting, just how wild the first two were. The third one wasn't like that, but the first two, were those type of black men. Anyway, Cap told me one time that she used to sick these men on, the mother would use his mother would use these men as bodyguards type of situation. She liked to have control of these, dark skinned mandingos. She liked that. She got off on that for whatever reason. But when she would discipline Captain Solo when he would do something that she didn't approve of, she would sick, one of these men onto Captain Solo to put him in his place. Okay? Well, again, all that aggression and hypermasculinity, when Captain Solo's mother didn't do what those men wanted, what do you think happened? Remind you, again, the second husband shot her 5 times. The first husband, was, well, actually, I think it was the second husband that was mostly abusive. Mostly abusive. But in the second husband, there was one time that Captain Solo was in the basement and his friends, and he was listening to music. Mind you, she had already sick this man on Captain Solo multiple times. And Captain Solo was in the basement with his friends listening to music. And his mother came running downstairs, turn that music down. And he was like, okay, why? And she's like, he's upstairs acting crazy. You need just be mindful, because she was worried that he was going to do something. Again, this is the same man that eventually ended up shooting her 5 times. He's acting crazy. And his Cap sitting there like, for real, like, so I was getting my ass beat at school. You took me out of freaking karate because you didn't want me to potentially have the capability of, fighting against you, or you not being able to check me, right? And then you've been sicking my stepdaddy on me whenever you disapprove, but now he's beating your ass and you want me to do something about it. You want me as your son that you intentionally disarmed to do something about it, to do something about this man that's putting hands on you. Now, I remind you, at 16 years old, there was one day, and this is before Captain Solo's mother got shot. There was one day where Captain Solo was, basically the guy had a tendency of going into the garage and he would, start drinking. And that was kind of the sign that an ass whooping was about to come on Captain Solo's mother. So he saw that. And again, I told this story before. He saw that, got all living things out of the house. The turtle, the hamster. I don't know if there was another animal and if they had a dog or something like that. Got his sister out the house and got his mother out the house. Told them, go, basically run out the backyard, keep going. I'm going to pick you up on the other side of the block. Cap got the keys. This is at, I think, 16. Got the keys. Slowly backed the car up out of the driveway, which the tires were already slashed. Got in the car, drove around the block, got his mother in the car, got his sister in the car, and they drove off, basically until I believe they ran out of gas. Okay? And right as Cap was pulling out the driveway with the car, his stepfather, that again, the guy that shot his mother 5 times, lifted up the garage door. So he saw Captain Solo rolling out the damn driveway. Okay. This is the type of experience that goes on with many black boys with their mothers trying to disarm them. Trying to control men She wanted to control her son, and she wanted to control this hyper masculine black man that she couldn't control, and neither could her son. I mean, what is a 16-year-old boy gonna do up against a grown ass man? You tell me what a 16-year-old boy is gonna do up against a grown ass man. You see, and see, this is where my anger comes in. All this disarming, all of this, we don't want toxic masculinity until some shit pops off. Then these women start talking about protect black women. Anti-Second Amendment like a motherfucker, but protect black women. You need to handle the Ray Rays and Pookies in the community. Oh, what the motherfuckers that y'all love so goddamn much? You mean the ones that you all procreate with and have all the babies by? Again, these women are full of shit when they come online and try to pretend like, oh, I only got with a thug because I had no ELs to choose from. I had no good black. That's bullshit. They out here getting with these guys because that's what they think are sexy. And the real fucked up part is, and this is what I hate about being in America, being a black man in America, and being, in another man's system, in another man's house. Because real talk, you know what it would actually take in order for black men, the ELs, the so-called, college educated and all that stuff, all that whole category, that non-thug category that we talk. You know what it would take? For black women to really, it's not even really a respect. It's like you literally have to go and strong arm and overpower women to the point that they don't have a choice. They're not allowed to have a choice. And this is where they'll scream misogyny and all this other shit and everything else. But when you look at every other community, they don't get choices. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, where we are right now, educated lanes would have to go in there and have a goddamn bloody slaughter of every fucking street dude that they come across. Period. That's what would have to happen. I'm talking strapped up AR-15s. I'm talking hose them down, the goddamn purge. That's what would have to happen. That would be the only way that these women would be like, oh shit, they're the alphaist of alphas, on top of controlling the economic landscape and everything else. Because these women are not going to stop. These women are not going to go, oh, we want a better and brighter community. We're going to stop being interested in the black men that are problematic in the black community, and we're going to stop having babies by them. And no, again, they find these men attractive. They have these men's babies. And so, we're at a point, look, at the end of the day, most of the ELs are not going to sacrifice, all the hard work that they put in, going to college, going to school, all that shit, have decent careers and everything else. They're not going to go out here and murder somebody, just to try to get a black woman. They're not going to do that. They're like, hey, this shit's too far gone. The culture is as such. People, there's so much shit about inner city street culture that black women love. And not only that, the way that it's promoted in the media, the way that it's promoted, in the culture, they're not going to walk away from all that. They love it. They embrace it. The minute that you have some ELs go on some posse shit and start taking out, street dudes and everything else. I'm saying if this were to happen, hypothetical, which the vast majority of them don't have it in them. Oh my God, these women will be the first ones to talk about, not my brother, not my cousin, not my baby daddy, not my boyfriend. They'd be the first one to stand in front of Ray Ray and Pookie like Jesus on the cross. You know what I'm saying? Marilyn Magdalene just, no, not him. Just standing in front of them, trying to protect them. That's the reality of the situation. So unless it's going to be a full out purge in the black community, nah. Dudes that got some, resources, semblance of sense, they're building their career and everything else, they don't have any other choice but to go out there and either find the few exceptional cooperative black women who ain't on that shit or hop the fence completely. And just the way that the numbers work in America, white people, for example, outnumber black people 5 to 1. And again, these men don't have wrong orientation. All these other women were raised in patriarchies where quote unquote submission is a damn thing. And then here you got black women who are the who they weren't raised in patriarchy. They don't believe in patriarchy. Patriarchy leaves a foul taste in their mouth. Submission is a dirty word. And then, people sit around and act like, oh, black women can go out there and, African American women specifically can go out there and date out and date all these other races that have patriarchal orientation. And that's so far from the truth. I don't even have to get into desirability. I don't have to get into whether black women are attractive or whether other races of men like their features. And I don't have to get into that. Their orientation alone will have it to where other races of men are not going to deal with them. Again, I direct you to all the MGTOW videos and all the white men bitching about their issue with even feminist white women. That's their own women, and they got issues with that. So you think that they're going to tolerate feminism and all this wrong orientation shit when it comes to African American women? Please, that's a joke. It's a joke. Like I said before, I'm so tired of these women downplaying or denying the way that they cripple a lot of these black men. They do not want patriarchy. They do not encourage patriarchy. Again, like the woman told me, my daughter will be president and my son will be a good black man. I'm like, damn, he doesn't even get a title. He just exists to serve the queen, to serve the beehive. So when black women sit around and they cry and lament over the fact about, what they don't get or what they don't receive, you know what I'm saying? They play an extremely significant hand in the demise of the black community through the demise of their own men. Look at the way that these women are out here raising their sons. They'll sit there and talk about, oh, well, women can't do it. We can't do it by ourselves. In one breath, they can do it by themselves. Like you get the exceptions to the rule. You get some woman whose son goes off and becomes a doctor and he was raised by a single mother, and they'll claim, oh, I did it all by myself. The minute the boy fails, it's because his daddy wasn't there. But that's not even the part that kills me. The part that kills me are the fact that you have these women out here who will sit there and they will acknowledge that they can't do it. But then it never occurred to them that you would need a man that's capable of doing it, but you avoid him because of whatever, that 10% of patriarchy that you didn't like, that submission, that dirty word that you didn't like. And so because of that, you threw the baby out with the bathwater, and you can't teach the boy, right? The father that you got with who isn't in the position, he can't teach the boy. Right, because he's either in the streets or doesn't have his shit together or has never demonstrated effective leadership in his life. So even if he had a son, again, it's easy to fuck, it's easy to produce a child, but it's not easy to be a father. What is he going to be able to teach that boy? You can't teach it. You can't even teach him how to interact with other men because you're a woman. You don't understand that whole dynamic. You don't understand the aspects of violence always being on the table. You know what I'm saying? With women like to handle shit diplomatically. With men, shit gets to a certain point where it's like, all right, motherfucker, we gonna get to blows. The threat of violence is always on the table when it comes to men. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers ain't gonna just argue with you, like even if they're dead wrong. You can have somebody who's just gonna be like, yeah, all right, motherfucker, you think you're so goddamn smart, but can you beat my ass? You know what I mean? So you gotta have the shit intellectually down, and you gotta have the physicality down. And women, they don't comprehend that. All this idealism that's floating around in the world, all this idealism that's floating around in the community. And I don't understand, like the black community via white supremacy and everything else. And this is what I'll give Themis credit for, because he acknowledges the aspects of white supremacy and the damage that it has done. But I'm saying, it's like we have not healed from all the shit that was done to us. And yet here you got black women that either not only work in concert with the system of white supremacy against their men, but also want to do all this social experiment bullshit, especially on their sons. And when their sons come out and they're fucked up or they're damaged, whether they go the Ray Ray and Pookie route in the streets or whether they go the EL route, which many of these women find undesirable, the black women will just wash their hands of it. Oh well, these men are just like that. Like it literally, like to them, all of these men that exist that are damaged or problematic, they just came out of the void. Has nothing to do with their mamas, has nothing to do with the way that they were raised, has nothing to do with the absence of the father, unless you're charging it to the absence of the father. When I say absence of the father, I'm talking about absence of the father due to the mother's poor selection in mate selection. They won't accept that charge. Like as though I can stop. Like let's say I'm walking the street or whatever, and I see a black woman and she's with a man that I know. I'm like, you don't need to be with that guy. You do not need to be with that guy. Okay, there's nothing I can do to stop her from getting with him. There's nothing I can do to stop her from having his baby. You see? And then somehow after she goes out there and has a baby with a guy that I already knew she had no business being with, somehow that falls at my feet. Somehow that's my problem. Somehow that's something that I need to fix because I also am a black male. I'm sitting there like, bitch, you wasn't fucking and sucking me. What you talking about? I have nothing to do with who you decide to lay up with. See, decisions have consequences, and a lot of black women don't want to embrace the fact that decisions have consequences. Some people are meant to be left alone. Everybody is not meant to be a father, and if you don't have any criteria, for it, then that's what's going to happen. And the part that kills me is these black women. They want to play the child victim all the time, like they're children. But then in the same breath, they run around and talk about how they're the boss bitch and they can make executive decisions and they out here being CEOs and they know how to lead and make decisions and all this other shit. They say this shit all the time. This is what they put out there. That black women know how to steer the community in the more appropriate direction than black men do. Right. But then when it comes to the decisions that they make romantically and sexually, then all of a sudden, oh, well, the traumas of this, that, and the third. And oh, I couldn't make a decision. Nobody talks more shit and out of both sides of their face than African American women. Nobody talks more shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like with black men, it's like, you're going to be a victim, be a victim. You know what I'm saying? If you're affected by some shit, then you're affected by some shit. It is what it is. But we don't have the type of duplicitous nature that the women have, where they have this split, this dichotomy, where in one breath they're Michelle Obama, and then in the next breath they're a ratchet that had no choices, and it's all because of the freaking environment. I'm all with women saying, hey, it's the environment. I'm with you. Hey, if you were in an environment where you didn't see positive role models and you were negatively affected by the things that were going on, I'm with you 100%. But don't then turn around and start talking shit like I'm a boss, bitch. I know what to do. I make better decisions than niggas and everything. Because I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that. If you want to sit there and act like you came out the womb making chief decisions and you know what the fuck is going on, I'm going to charge you to that. If you're going to be a victim, be a victim. But don't sit there and try to be a victim. And then when you look around and nobody's looking, you think you're going to just pull your dick out. Like, fuck you on that shit. So I mean, this is my whole first. This is what constantly gets left out of Chloe's conversation. This guy Themis's conversation, and everybody else, all the divestors, they always leave this component out. If you listen to their conversations carefully, it's always men do this, men don't do that, and women, we're just subject to toxic masculinity, and we've had to adjust and make decisions in this toxic environment. They're not going to own the fact that you got women out here who are intentionally avoiding men who are in the very position that they say that they would need these men to be in to fix the community because they don't like what comes with that. They don't like being told what to do. They don't like being judged. They don't like the rules and regulations. They don't like to have to negotiate with the man, for resources. They don't want to do any of that stuff. So getting with Pookie has its own set of benefits. Pookie can't judge you. Pookie can't tell you what to do. Pookie will probably give you resources and not demand anything from you. None of the shit is in Pookie's name. Pookie got a felony, so that gives you leverage in the relationship. There's all type of shit that these women like about that. On top of the fact that, media has promoted them as, the premier, most desirable sexual, black men that are out there. These women are not moved by the so-called EL crowd. That's the irony of Themis. I'm like, he's a primary representative of the type of black man that these women are not moved by. They co-sign what he's saying, but they do not co-sign his being and his essence. That is not sexy to them. And I'm saying that's if we want to go with the idea that this man is even straight. That's the crazy part. So while he's out there knocking people over with his goddamn capes, you know what I mean, and claiming, that, damn, my leg is falling asleep, claiming that he's, that he's, just like every other black man. I'm like, yeah, and you are most certainly at the back of the I want to get what you line. It's just frustrating. It's like the lack of intellectual honesty when it comes to these conversations. And again, then people want to bring up the smoke and mirrors. They want to bring up the other stuff. The colorism, the featureism, the hair texturism, the self-hate, the associating black women with poverty, all that stuff, which are most certainly factors. But this area that I'm talking about right here, these this value system, these wrong orientations, the disdain for patriarchy, the disdain for structure, the disdain for order. They only want the benefits, only the provisions, but we don't want the structure. We don't want to have to be obligated to anything. Again, going back to the video that BGS IB More posted a long time ago. I mean, it was right in there. The woman said the shit. That we don't want to be, we don't want to, have, what did she say? We don't want to define things because we might have to live by them. And that was back in what, the 60s that she said that shit? Not much has changed in the last, 50 or 60 years. Seriously speaking, not much has changed. The only thing that majorly has changed is the internet and the fact that, men now have a voice online and they have this, free exchange of ideas. And granted, it took us, over 10 years to discover this, almost 15 years, to really, crack the door on all this, but, these women, they keep coming with these sort of canned response, and it's already been shown. It's already been proven. Y'all can say what you want, but you can't tell me why Angela Simmons went off and had the baby with who she had the baby with. You can't sit there and give me a valid reason why Sierra went off and had a baby with Future when Future already had 5 children. You can't give me a legitimate answer as to why Cynthia G went off and had a baby by Rob, who also has multiple kids. You can't give me that. Y'all running around trying to claim victim and everything. No, these women do not like patriarchy. They do not like powerful men. They only like what powerful men can do for them, but they do not want to have to live up to the standards and the rules and the regulations and the expectations and the desires of those men with the resources. They do not want to negotiate with men for resources. And my thing is, hey, I'm not stopping you. If you want to go out there, you want to make your own money and you want to do this and you want to do that, that's fine. But again, I'm not looking for a woman that's going to provide that type of resistance. I am looking for a patriarchal situation or a patriarchal, marriage, that I can engage in. And I do not see that in the vast majority of African American women. I don't see that. Most certainly not in the divestors and the swirlers and all that other shit. They want to try to, come with their little fake femininity and try to pretend like they're these docile flowers and always have been and just been victims to the toxic masculinity. Again, I mean, Kevin Samuel's show is like the like I don't even know how people come online and talk the shit that they talk. When you have these women that call in to the show, I got 4 kids, I got 3 kids, I got 2 kids, 2 different baby daddies. Oh, where's your biological father? Oh, that nigga's in jail. Why did you have a baby by a nigga in jail? You know what I mean? Like, and then especially when these women are older, like they got like these women are in their 30s and the child is only like 2 years old. So like you were grown when you decided to lay down with dude and have the baby. You were grown. You weren't. This ain't no. Oh, you were in high school and oh you didn't know. Like you were grown. You know what I'm saying? Like at least with Country Wayne, I'm assuming he was 19, so I'm assuming that was all like right after high school. He came out of the sticks and whatnot. But I mean, just tell me what is woman number 5 thinking? Versus no, I could give woman number 1 or number 2 a pass. I could give them a pass. I'm not giving woman number 5 and all the way to number 9 a damn pass. I mean, talk about 90% of women only wanting 10% of dudes. Talk about 90% only wanting 10%. When you got these women out here, you got one dude just pumping up, a whole bunch of women in the community. Going back to what Themis was talking about with this whole, and I'm saying, and I disagree with him talking about this whole, there's women that wanted the lames. Don't say that there weren't, but yet show me the lames. Show me the nerds that got multiple baby mamas all over the place. I mean, to sit there and say black women don't want thugs, but yet when we look at who has all the babies, you tell me who has all the babies? The thugs. That's not a coincidence. I mean, for somebody to come online and actually say this, but then when you look at the data and you look at the facts on the ground, who has all the babies? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that all the baby daddies out here, were a bunch of doctors and lawyers and, certified public accountants and judges and, business executives and shit like that. That's not what we see. What we see when we see these women that got multiple baby daddies, the dudes are in the streets, if not dusty. Or they were trying to imitate the streets, but they were really dusty. They were faking it till they make it. Girl, I'm gonna get this record deal. And the women fell for that bullshit. And that's another thing that kills me. And that's another comment that I wrote is, this whole idea that all these black women out here are just Michelle Obama, that are just victimized by the evil black, misogynistic patriarchy. It's just bullshit. You got niggas out here and you got ratchets out here. And the niggas and the ratchets belong to each other. You know what I mean? But when you have these women that have their platforms and they come online, man, they try to sit up here and try to pretend like every black woman is just classy and every black woman wants better for her life and better for herself. And every black woman out here wants to have, wants to live, on a hill somewhere in a white house with a picket fence in the burbs and shit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Some of the sisters even talking got nice shit, and they can't even bring some of their female family members around because the chicks is too ratchet. They say, "Oh no, I can't have that around me." Oh no. But they gonna come online and act like, and this is what even further just pisses men off. I mean, even as an ELs, we can't sit up in here and deny that they're street dudes and whatnot. They're all over the place. They're plastered all over every goddamn billboard. We can't sit there and pretend like they don't exist. That's what essentially defines the culture. We're told that we're white or acting white or talking white or whatever. That's what defines the culture. But when it comes to black women, they want to act like, you could have WAP up there and all of a sudden they'll act like, nah, with Michelle Obama, like we're going to go get Kamala Harris, we're going to go up there and act like, the ratchets don't exist or the ratchets are a minority. It's just irritating. Not understanding that is where the majority of the black community is. The majority of the black community is not a bunch of sophisticated black women, no more than it's the majority of the community is a bunch of sophisticated black men. That's not what it is. But when talking about ELs and talking about your black men to go to college and all this other bullshit and got careers and whatnot, um, you know, like these are not the desired men. The only thing that is desired, the only thing that black women feel some type of way about is the fact that these men are taking their resources somewhere else. And a lot of these women have all these stupid ass fantasies in their mind that somehow, all these black men that are in the streets and everything, that they're going to, I don't know, a record deal is going to drop. They're going to be with a millionaire. The dude's going to get an NBA contract. They're going to be, the on the arm of some millionaire. It's all that sort of lifestyle. They see it happening. They like, well, shit. I'd rather be a rapper's baby mama than to be attached to some black male professional that's going to put all these stipulations and shit on me. That's why Brittany Renner went off and did what she did. Yeah, let me get the bag. Let me get the bag. You know what I mean? The funny thing is like educated lame population, whatever you want to call it, they're reacting and responding to that. You start seeing the pattern and the behavior of all these women, all these high profile cases and stuff like that. You do start looking at black women sideways, and you do start saying to yourself, you're like, you know what? Like, I'm not trying to get caught up in this shit. Like these women don't even really like in many of these street dudes. It's only about as long as they have money. You know what I mean? Like you don't really get a sense that there's any real genuine interest in any man for that matter, let alone street dudes. I mean, because since the street dudes is out here getting all the pussy and whatnot, when you start seeing, the way that these women talk sideways about them and on IG or whatever social media they use, when you start seeing like when these men's money runs dry and they up there, first thing out their mouth, they talking about how broke they are and shit like that. Like I remember when, what was it? Like Atlanta Housewives. I just heard of the statement. It was some clip or some thread I was looking at or something like that. But Vado and the woman that whoever Vado, Vado with Cameron and Dipset and all that shit. Vado, the rapper, his woman says something to the effect of, it's the brokest nigga I done ever met. And it's like, damn. You know what I mean? And you in the streets and you supposed to be connected and flossing and this, that, and third. And now, and you know what I'm saying? Like you're everything that this woman, or at least we thought everything that she wanted. And then as soon as the man, doesn't have the lifestyle for her, the lifestyle that she thinks she deserves, now all of a sudden he ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to sit there and talk about niggas ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. Again, it's men have to perform. Men have to provide. That's what we have to do. There's no real genuine. That's why all that shit about, oh, the black woman, why y'all over the fence and we can offer stuff that other races of women can't offer. For real? Is that you think that's a true statement? You think that's a true statement? The minute that we don't have money, y'all niggas ain't shit. There doesn't seem to be any real genuine interest. And you'll say, well, the other races of women are the same thing. Exactly. So it's a wash. But I'll tell you what I don't have to deal with over there. You don't have to deal with, the belligerence. You don't have to deal with we hate patriarchy. You don't have to deal with the, all these stupid ass, I hate submission and whatnot. I don't know who was that NFL player that had that Latina chick that was, scrubbing his car with a toothbrush and shit like that. Not saying that most dudes even want all that. I think some of that she was just being a little extra with it. But again, she's like, yeah, I'm making my man some damn breakfast. That's what I'm doing. She sees this big ass house, big ass comfortable house that he's got me in. She's gonna do that. You know what I mean? But with sisters, like, no, it's like beyond that. They're like, no, if I can get the bag and not have to deal with the dude, like, so it's going beyond just, if y'all build it, we will come. No, it's, damn, how do I get the bag without having to deal with this nigga? And see, once that is identified, just like I said with Jared Taylor and who doesn't want to maintain power? I'm like, okay, it's not a meritocracy. And once we recognize, like, oh, so you just want the bag, it ain't even about really wanting us or being in a situation where the bag is there, but we're together as a couple. You just want the bag and a baby. Like, bitch, fuck you. Nah, 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 nah. Again, at that point, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that other races of women are better, than black women, even though in some, in the patriarchal orientation, I would say that they are. I'm not going to say that they're better than black women, but when the situation is like this with black women, I can't say that they have any more value than any other race of woman. And that's the whole thing when it comes to brothers dating out. It's like, they don't have any more value in particular. Where would this value come from? You know what I mean? They're not supportive of a patriarchy. They're not supportive of a black male led community. They're not. And all the talk about, oh, well, if you do this, then we'll fall in line and everything. No, first off, that's arbitrary as fuck. It's about as arbitrary as the women that run around with all this white Jesus and Christianity talking about, I only submit to a man that submits to the Lord. How do you even measure that? So a man's running around, okay, I read the Bible from front to back, cover to cover. All right, are you ready to get with the program and submit? And she'll come up with another reason. She'll be like, oh, well, you didn't memorize Leviticus. It's like, damn, okay, so now you want me to memorize the Bible like it's the fuck? Yes, when you memorize the Bible from front to cover, then I will submit to you. You know what I'm saying? So the dude's got to become damn near an ordained priest in order for her to get with the damn program. I know a brother that divorced. I know a brother. It was so crazy. The brother is light-skinned brother. He was married to a dark-skinned sister. Okay. And, I asked him, I said, why did you divorce your wife? And he said, man, we were in, the church and all that. And he was just like, every time I would make a decision, she would be like, we have to consult scripture, or we had to talk to the pastor. And it's like, man, and this dude, I mean, he's got a kick-ass career. He's making all type of money, got his own house. I mean, the dude is he's doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? And, he ended up getting a divorce because she was too damn religious. Fortunately for the both of them, they didn't have, no, actually, no. Did he have any children? I don't think he had any children. He might have a child, but I don't think he had any children, which made it easier for him to walk away. But, he was just like, nah, he was like, it was a damn cult. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, man, I did it all, man. I did it. We went to the church, sitting up there, having meetings with the pastor and everything else like that. She just could not just deal with, me saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, da, 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 da. He had everything handled. And, they, at the end of the day, they just decided that to go their different ways. So like I'm saying, all this, trying to, all these benchmarks, what it's like? It's almost like what you see right now with people not wanting to go back to work because of COVID. You know what I'm saying? And Luis Rossman, highlighted this. This has already been, pointed out by numerous people, but that was the last person that I watched the video where he covered this, which is the fact that, people are like reevaluating their life, because they recognize that carrot that society held, hey, yeah, you hate your job and this job sucks, but it provides stability and this is a stable job and you can raise a family and whatnot. And there's job security here. Well, COVID showed a lot of people that there was no job security. So once the carrot is gone, nobody is going to stick around anymore and bust their ass off for what essentially is not guaranteed. They're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? You at least, look, nothing is 100% guaranteed, but you got to at least give, 80 to 75%. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be, pretty much largely guaranteed unless something just wild just happens, fucking tsunami or some crazy shit. Then you could be like, yeah, such and such happened and it didn't work out. People can accept that. But to go out here and there's just no guarantee. There's just no guarantee. And then, again, men are communicating now. Decades of goalposts moving. Well, if y'all do this, only then will we fall in line. Okay. Okay, well, if y'all do this, then only then we'll fall in line. It's like, okay. They do that. And then, it's like you start looking at it and then you're like, nah. On top of the fact that, again, with the child custody, the courts, the judicial system and everything that favors women, today's young black men have witnessed the men that came before them, just basically get decapitated by the courts. This is why I said modern women are like landmines. Men are not, it's hard enough going out here and getting established and everything else as a black man, and you're going to go out here and fool with a woman, that can possibly destroy you. Look, any woman can destroy you, but you got to be extra careful about that. And so what really comes down to, it's not even about the race of the woman. It's about whether she's showing you any signs, that she's volatile. If she shows any signs of being volatile or uncooperative, then, you got to cut the chick loose. Cut her loose. Because, we unlike other races of men, who might have the resources to bounce back, we don't. Many of us are only maybe 1-2 generations max out of poverty. You know what I mean? And everything's on our back. And you already know how, black families tend to drain, the one professional black person in the whole entire family. You end up being the one that's helping everybody else out who's still in the hood. So, nah. Oh, and then, then you throw in the fact that, chances are when you're linking up with another black person, that their family's like that. So you go, and I talked about this. I got a video talking about this, about, black people being judged for the things that they can't control. And it is fucked up. She doesn't, her daddy wasn't in her life. Who's going to pay for the wedding? The idea that the father of the bride pays for the wedding. You know what I mean? Or if she's got a whole bunch of problems in her family, even if she's individually, successful and goes out there and, she's doing it herself. It's like I've seen situations, where dudes end up helping the woman's in-laws and gets financially dragged down by her in-laws. Well, Keisha had a baby. Oh, well, Rob's in jail again, so, we need to bond him out. Da 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 da. It's like, oh, man. And that's another thing. One more thing, because dude brought up women's education and whether women's education is important. And I've seen stupid comments. One woman went in there and she brought up some Indians, and I'm like, with Indians in third world country, as somebody wrote in the comment section, education is not free. And in many and there's no federal loans to pay for people's education. So if a woman is educated, because she was talking about some flyer in an Indian newspaper that was looking for Indian woman that's educated. What's interesting is it probably said fair on there too, but the Indian woman that's educated, and it's a whole different dynamic. They're not looking for her to be educated so that she can assert herself in the dynamics of the relationship and operate and be patriarchal. No. They're looking at that because if she's educated in India, then the chances are she comes from a family that has some status. Go talk to your Sikh friends and ask them what a Jat is. Go talk to your Hindu friends and ask them what a Brahmin is. You know what I mean? They still very much have caste system over there. But anyway, so this woman used a very terrible example. But the other thing is that we keep having to say it. I don't know why Themis try to act like he can't comprehend it. The fact of the matter is, he's talking about, well, the women are educated and they're doing everything in the community. If they weren't educated, holding it down, then the community would just fall into nothingness, right? These sort of bullshit ass arguments. The fact of the matter is that women's education is tied to women making money. Now, women making money with the wrong orientation that many African American women have is solely to be used to buck the man's decisions that he's going to be making with his resources. So it's resources versus resources. And that is where the problem is. Women are not socialized to share their money and their wealth with men. What's hers is hers, and what's his is hers. And that's part of the problem. That is why men will sit there and they will see a woman that has substantial amount of resources, and if they're smart, they will run off in the other direction because they recognize how much money is directly tied to power. And so, he wants there's all this, a woman's education doesn't matter. No man wants a dumbass woman. Nobody wants a dumb woman. And even he acknowledged the whole idea of, whatever traditional education, like I hate the vagueness of, we don't care about a woman's education as though, a woman can only be intelligent if she goes to a university and that men are out here seeking women who are, I mean, literally, low on the IQ scale. That's not what we're talking about. The fact of the matter is that when we're talking about patriarchy and we're talking about that situation, the women who have the wrong orientation, and it might just be a situation, it's just what it is when women get resources. Hell, again, going back to Karazin's, divorce, from her husband. You know what I mean? I even heard Chrissy's dog whistle in one of her videos pointing this shit out like, hey, ladies, sometimes you can have a hustle and you can have some side shit that blows up and then you start making more money than your husband. And even Chrissy was low key like, y'all need to check yourselves. You don't just throw away a good man. He was there holding it down. I remember Karazin twirling around. Look at me, I'm in the vineyards. I've won. I'm lucky. When she had that whole fiasco with the Veganator. I've won. I'm lucky. Right? Why am I crying and why am I so upset? Right? That's what she said. That's her own words. Okay? Freaking Mr. Karazin took on a black woman who had a child by a black man, produced 3 beautiful children, with her, provided a lifestyle in the suburbs, and now all of a sudden Karazin over there running around in Canada, with the whatever dude, I don't even know what's going on with that. Like Mr. Karazin ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know why. Like I'm gonna tell you. And I wasn't gonna say this, but I'm just like, I so want to say, like, be careful with that shit. You know what I'm saying? There's 2 things white men don't like. 1, when you take power from them, and 2, if you embarrass them. Okay? You know what I mean? We know how white men get when they get in their feelings and shit when it comes to spouses and stuff like that. So I'm like, ladies, stop it. Like, stop this bullshit. But hey, Karazin's going to do whatever Karazin wants to do. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's just sometimes it's just so cringe. But the point is, it's like maybe that's just how women are. You can marry a woman, you making, freaking, I don't know, y'all making $100,000 together. Let's throw up this super high number because that's not what the average couples are making. But let's say a guy's making $100,000. His wife, she's a stay-at-home mom for several years. She decides she wants to, try to come up with a jewelry company. Okay, so she comes up with a jewelry company. The husband's very supportive. He's supporting her, helps her with the jewelry company. And then the jewelry company takes off. It's in her name, all that shit. The company takes off. So now she's making millions of dollars. He still got his career where he was making $100,000. Now, some people would argue, well, maybe he should join her and, join, the company since technically speaking, since they built it together, and therefore, since they built it together, it should just work out, and they shouldn't be in each other's egos about whose is what and who owns what. They're a family, they're a couple, and they're going to be a power couple now, and everything will be beautiful. Yeah, we would all like to think it plays out that way, but sometimes it turns into, you know what I mean? You you're no longer on my level now. And you're sitting there like, for real, bitch? Like, for real, like you was a stay-at-home wife and you making money and now all of a sudden the very person that was supporting you ain't shit. Like, for real, for real, for real. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I don't know whether, you know, men like, you know, because I mean it's modern times. I'm not. I don't think any men are running around saying you must be, you know, barefoot in the kitchen, you know, and like, you know, pregnant and barefoot. I don't think men are thinking that they want to be with a woman that's just sitting around the house all day being pregnant and barefoot. You know, but at the same time, if a woman is going to go out there and her whole goal, her whole orientation was get an education, make money, you know, so that you can add a man to what you're doing, or get an education or get money so that you ain't dependent on no man. No, that's a woman that needs to be avoided. Straight up. Straight up, her education has no value to you at that point because her education is only going to be used to buck your decisions and disrupt the harmony of, you know, a patriarchal household. You know, there will very much be a disturbance in the force. You know, and that's why, you know, guys are, you know, avoiding that shit. And I don't even know where the situation is going to go. I mean, you know, even Kat was pointing out, like, he was like, my generation can't even give you advice on that shit. Even older generations can't, because none of this shit existed anymore. All women out here, you know, like literally it takes a man, you know, you got to go out here and build and do all this other stuff. It takes a man, you know, doing it the conventional way. It takes a lot of time, you know, to you know, put some shit together, to create employment for other men. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting in hours doing shit like that, you know, with a sort of conventional business and everything. Now you got women, they go on social media, piss, shit, and fart. You know what I mean? Show their half naked bodies or naked bodies, and now they're making in a few hours what it would take a man with what would have been considered a kick-ass career, you know, maybe 10 years ago. You know, they'd be like, you know, now all of a sudden it's like, you know, the whole dating market is just shifted. It's all fucked up now. And mark my words, when these women want to settle down and, you know, get married and everything, oh, there's going to be all type of private investigators and everything. I want to see your social media. What were you doing on social media in the late, you know, 20 teens? Like, what were you doing in OnlyFans? Like, oh man, it's going to be, whoo, buddy. It's going to be a rough day for some people. A rough day for some people. It's going to create major problems. And then again, the whole resources thing. I mean, I just watched a video clip of Method Man. He was in a barbershop interview with somebody, and he was like, where are these young people getting all this fucking money? Where are they getting all this fucking money? Not understanding the dynamic of social media. But everything can't be done on social media. You know what I'm saying? Like if a patient's got fucking COVID and they got to be on a fucking, you can't social media that. You know, people are saying, maybe you could. You know, I'm just saying, in general, you can't social media that. Fucking HIPAA, all that shit. You can't social media that shit. You know, I mean, there's all type of like serious skills that are needed out here that take schooling and education and everything. And now we live in a society where that's no longer valued. And the black community were the first canaries in the coal mine. Because what is social media today for women was essentially the drug dealers in the 80s, you know, for black men. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, once you had it to where, you know, you used to have a time where women used to, you know, he's a hardworking man and goes to work every day. And if a man says, I get up every day. If a man said that back in 1965, that meant something. Now, I get up every day. That don't mean shit. Not after the 80s and the 90s, when you had drug dealers that were literally flipping keys and making money. And again, that shifted the whole psyche of many women, you know, in that direction. Shit, well, I want to get with a guy that's, you know, a 9 to 5 and shit. I want to get with a drug dealer. They got instant money. Until they got locked up in the 90s with RICO charges with the 94 crime bill. Then all of a sudden, I'm a single mom. These niggas ain't shit. All our black men are in jail. See, again, These hoes ain't fucking loyal. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, what the solution is. All I'm saying is, when it comes to brothers, and if they want to step out and date out, there's valid and legitimate reasons as to why they are, and I've covered them all in this video. And these are the reasons that sisters just, I mean, they just do, especially the divestors, they do not want to acknowledge any of this. They don't. They want to pretend like, no, it's not that. They want to pretend like they're just victims in it all. And we would submit if these men went out there and they built Wakanda. All that shit. Again, once the carrot is gone, once people realize it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors, again, you can't fake thirst. You see these women, the way that they jump up and down about, some of these street dudes and artists and everything. They can't fake that type of thirst. You know what I mean? The women are not standing outside of Morehouse College going, like, this is not happening. This is not happening. So anyway, this video is long enough. I've covered everything I think I need to cover. That's my video. SWP out.